And the topic also complies with that. We'll be dealing with the leadership and management part. We'll be dealing with the legal awareness part. We'll be dealing with the part 3 of the constitution. I'll be highlighting some of the part 3 of the constitution important points. I'll be highlighting some important points of 39A, which is free legal aid to the indigent person, which is free legal aid to the underprivileged person, which is free legal aid to the poor and the underprivileged who are not able to seek justice because they are not having so much money, and they cannot expend so much to hire a good lawyer. So if I start with my session, then I would like to speak, and I would start with that. What is literacy all about? Now, I should say that literacy is something, a knowledge for read and writing of something. Like reading and writing is literacy. And when it comes to the legal knowledge, then it is reading and writing of the legal arguments, legal drafting, legal terminologies, and legal skills, right? But legal literacy is different from all this. Legal literacy is just something which, when you need the law to use whenever it is needed, right? Now when you require a law, then you require legal literacy, a legal knowledge of your rights. And legal knowledge of your rights does not include something like you should know something very much technical about the legal part. I think legal literacy is one of the most important tool for any citizen. uh, am I audible, right? Hello. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please,
Yes. Yes.
please
Yes. Yes.
keep on
So
going.
yes. For me, like legal literacy is one of the most important tool for any citizen to fight justice. Now, why it is one of the most important tool to fight justice? Because when legal
Sir,
when
please, I would like to intervene here. Please, all the participants switch off their mic. Some
yes.
disturbances are there from the outside sources. So let's so that we may enjoy this webinar, we may listen to our eminent guest. Please switch off your mics.
I'm removing the concerned participant.
Yes, Navjot, disturbance is there.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm removing.
Now, please continue, sir. Please.
Yes. Yeah. So I was talking about what is the importance of legal literacy, right? So see, for me, like legal literacy is one of the most important tool for any citizen to fight justice. Now, how come it is very important to fight the important tool to fight justice? See, if you see that India is the largest democracy in the world with a population of more than 130 crore people, right? So it is not easy to understand law by every citizen because the illiteracy is high, the underprivileged people, the percentage of underprivileged people are high, and so they cannot understand the dynamic of law, which changes from time to time. And see, it's like it has been already mentioned in many of the cases that how come legal literacy is important. One of the case what I was going through is when ex Chief Justice of India P. Shantachivam sir said that legal literacy is essential for the survival of constitutional democracy. Now, how it is important for the survival of constitutional democracy? Now, the survival of the constitutional democracy is for the people and by the people, right? When the people get power, that they can use their justice, that they can use their rights, then that that they can understand that what their respective rights are all about, and they can seek justice very easily, and they can have a choice to have a fair justice. They can seek to all their problems, and they can come to court, and when their awareness is so high that all the dynamic changes in the law, they can understand it very easily. So it's like India is a land where there are a lot of laws, there are various laws, and there are variety of subjects of law. So I think the people must be made aware of the rights and duties for systematic functioning of the nation. So see, if I talk about legal literacy, when I extend my views in legal literacy, then I must say that the law of the land are made for the growth of the people at large. and they are made to protect and preserve the human rights for all the people who are present and all the people who are the citizen of this nation. Now, if I talk about how can you seek justice, like how can legal literacy help you seek justice? Now, this is something very important. See, when you are a normal citizen who is not aware about law, usually we face this because everybody who come to us, being as a lawyer and who come to us and understand and try to understand कि sir मेरा ये problem है, इसको आप कैसे दूर कीजिएगा और इसकी technicalities क्या है. But when you see that these are very simple laws, see, to understand like Article 14, right to equality, to understand right to life, to understand what is freedom of speech and expression, this is something which every citizen should know by heart. Now, how can everybody know it by heart? Everybody can know it by heart when they are very much when at the basic level they are recognizing everything, and on the basic education level they need to learn everything. When it comes to the important portion of what the underprivileged citizens are facing in our country, so it comes to Article 39A, free legal aid. Now, how can the legal literacy help Article 39A, and how can legal literacy help to seek justice in Article 39A? So, what is Article 39A all about? Now, 39A is all about the free legal aid system. Free legal aid for underprivileged people, free legal aid for those people who are not able to seek justice because they are not so much empowered with the money, who are not so much who are not so much powerful in the society. And see, if you can say that if an underprivileged person is in jail, so he need to have something. He need to have a good lawyer to come out. He need to have a good lawyer to seek good and fair trial, and the fair procedures, and to understand the fair technicalities of law. Now, how can that be done, right? How can that be done? So, see, there are a lot of cases which has been dealt by our apex court and all the courts in India. So the most important cases which I learned about are only two of the cases which I felt are very important for the Article 39A pre-legal aid system. So for the first case which I'll be dealing about is the Olga Tennis case, Olga Tennis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation. And Olga Tennis case is a very important case in anybody's life, in any normal citizen's life, to understand what is the importance of legal aid is all about. See, right to life is not about only having a right to life. It includes right to dignity, right to freedom of trade and expression. It includes right to have fair trial. It includes right to have a similar representation, right to have equal pay for equal work. So what is Olga Tennis case is all about? See, Olga Tennis case is all about, which includes right to life, also includes the means of subsistence. Now, what do you mean by means of subsistence? The means of subsistence means that you need to have all those fulfillment of basic necessities by state that you can survive. And if that is not possible, then I don't think so that then there is a meaning to right to life. So right to life is something which includes dignity, which includes right to livelihood, which includes right to basic necessities of life, and which includes fair and equitable procedures in accordance with law. So all these cases, see, all these cases are technical cases. I can understand that for common man under reading these judgments, it can be technical, but we as lawyers, we as the law officers of the court, we have to make it aware the citizens of the nation about all these rights, that how can they understand this. So when I talk about one more case, when I'm dealing about Article 39A, is Husnara Khatun versus State of Bihar. So what is Husnara Khatun versus State of Bihar talk about? A very simple gist of this case is what did the court wanted to aware us about is that it was for the condition of the prisoners of Bihar after the emergency which was implemented in the nation. Now, after the emergency, which was implemented in the nation, around 40,000 people, prisoners were there in the prison of Bihar, and they were suffering in the prison because they were not able to seek justice. And why they were not able to seek justice? Because the fair representation was not there, and because the legal aid part was not there, and because they could not hire lawyers because they were not so much rich, and they were suffering with the basic necessities of life. So how can this be done? See, Justice P.N. Bhagwati in this case only said that the prisoner should receive free legal aid and speedy hearings. So this Article 39A came from all these cases which said about how can free legal aid seek justice for all the citizens in this nation. So, see, as the session is all about legal literacy for a common man, so I'll be trying to speak in bilingual way so that everybody can understand this. See, मेरा perspective जो है law के लिए वो ये है कि law is common sense. हर आदमी को लॉ को समझना बहुत जरूरी है, चाहे वो एक सीनियर सिटीजन हो, चाहे वो हम लोग हों, चाहे वो 11th-12th क्लास के बच्चे हों, चाहे वो स्कूल के बच्चे हों, किसी के लिए भी. नाउ व्हाई इज इट इम्पोर्टेंट? सी, अगर हम कुछ लोग ये सोचते हैं कि व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ कमिंग इनटू लॉ, क्योंकि पहले से ही यही एक कॉन्सेप्ट बना हुआ है हमारे नेशन में कि law takes a lot of time to get your name, to make your name, because there is a lot of nepotism. There is a generation lawyers which are coming up from a very long time, and so it is not possible for us to seek justice and to make our name very easily. But that is not correct. See, what I feel, when you pass 11th or 12th class, when you think of becoming a lawyer, then you should be thinking of social activism. You should be thinking of what you can give it to the nation. You should be thinking of that you know rights better than everybody else who is standing in front of you, right? There's a difference between a common man and you, because a common man is not legally literate and you are a legal officer. So there's a difference between both of this. So what I want to tell is that legal literacy has a very important role in society, and we as lawyers we have a very important responsibility to make society understand that what is the use of legal literacy. Now, if I talk about how law is important in everybody's life, how we can come to law, and what is the importance of being a lawyer, being a law officer, and being someone who can do something for the society. See, I tell you, when I was very young, when I was in 11th and 12th, nobody is able to decide that what they have to do, and they are very much ambiguous in their mind that that which profession I should join, where I should come up, what should I do, and is this right or is this wrong? Because it's not wrong to think about that you need to earn money very easily, that you want a financial subsistence. But apart from this, there is a role of every person in society. Now, what is the role of every person in society? See, the role of every person in society is to work for underprivileged people, to work for society at large. Now, how can you work for society at large when you don't know about law, when you don't know about your rights, and when they don't know about and they don't know about their rights? So when you come up and you say an underprivileged person, okay, fine, I'll be filing a petition for you. You are an indigent person. You don't have so much source of money, so I'll be fighting a case for you on free, right? So see, free legal aid has two different departments. See, a lawyer can do a lawyer can fight a case pro bono, and apart from this, the court and the every state is a state court appoint a legal aid society where they give lawyers to every person who cannot seek justice or who is a underprivileged person and who is suffering because they cannot hire a good law professional to attend their cases, and that is the reason they are under trial for a very long time. And see, that can result to a very complicated part of not seeking justice, because when they because if you can say that after a very long time, when the trial is completed and when they are found innocent, then the justice is of no use because they have already lost a lot of time. So what I think that legal justice, that legal aid is something that everybody between us can do. So
Well, Mr. Kushal,
yes, yes,
it's a very pleasure listening to you on this topic.
sir,
But
yes,
there is one query that is coming to my
sir,
mind, and that is
sir,
that very rightly said, Article 39A is there,
sir,
DLSA at the state level is state, SALSA is there, and then
yes, sir,
NALSA. But it has been observed that even notwithstanding all these facilities, a common man is not having
sir,
an access to all these facilities. They are not
sir.
being provided the very basic purpose for which this legal societies have been established. They are not
Sir.
having access to the common man. It has been
Sir,
observed.
and so that is the relevancy of the topic which we are dealing today, right?
Very right.
So that is the relevancy of the topic, that legal literacy for a common man. What is the use of legal literacy for a common man? It is our responsibility that we should go in society and we should tell them that you don't need to have a sourceful person, that you don't need to have a good amount of money to hire a good lawyer because we work pro bono, we do
Agreed.
something for the society also, and state appoints the free legal aid to all the person who cannot seek justice because of the source of money. See, sir, I tell you what, one of the case, what I think that everybody who is listening can understand. See, I fought a case for an indigent person, which is still continuing. Now, what is the facts of the case is? The fact of the case is that the husband of the person for whom I'm fighting the case, he was sitting just beside one shop, and the tiles of the adjacent shop just fall on his head, and he died on the spot. Right. So the wife of the deceased person, she was a very poor lady. She was I should not say this, but she was a housemaid. So she came to me, and the adjacent shops were of very branded companies. So how can they fight with those branded companies? So the point is that I told her that I'll be fighting this case pro bono for you. I will be coming to court, and I will be filing a application for you that you are an indigent person, and I'll be taking this privilege for you from the court that you are an indigent person, and so that even the court fees is not taken from your side, and I won that case. Now, see, a lot of technicalities are involved into this. You have to file an application for an indigent person. You have to go to the court. The court send the concerned SDM to your house. They check that whatever you are saying is right or not. You have to file an affidavit that there is no property on your name, there is no bank account on your name, and that there is nothing on your side, so, which is a regular income. So if you're fighting a case for an indigent person, then you have to be very knowledgeable, and you need to understand that what is the importance of free legal aid, and how can you make them seek justice, because they don't know law, but you know law. And what is the main thing, that when you are standing in court and you are not aware about the correct law, then I hope your client may lose the case, and you cannot be able to make judges understand the level what you want to. So I think the legal aid is one of the most important thing what everybody should learn in this society.
Very
And
rightly said, sir.
yes,
It's so nice that you acted pro bono in the example that you have cited.
sir,
One
sir,
more experience, our dean sir is also sitting and the director sir is also there along with the
sir,
faculty members. Sir, here I would like to quote one of the instances. Recently, we had a jail visit at Noida.
sir,
So we were surprised to see that many of the persons who were detained there, very young persons, they were not knowing as to why they have
sir,
been arrested, why they have been kept in the jail, and but the situation becomes very serious one
sir,
when
sir.
the person
True.
does not know as to why. And when we asked about the jail authorities, they escape to try to respond to our questions to this.
So so the very first time this case was dealt in Husna Bibi Khatun versus State
Very
of
right.
Bihar, and yes, sir, and in that case only, Justice P.N. Bhagwati said that justice should be very easy, and justice should be very common, and justice should be so much easy that everybody, every underprivileged person can seek fair justice and fair trial. So I think all, yes, sir. So I think that this is our responsibility now to make the society understand that what is the importance of legal literacy. Government should start some projects, and government should give basic level education about all this, the part 3 of the constitution, the fundamental rights. The government should start all these subjects on a very basic level, so that at a point of time when a student reach the young age, he should understand that what is my responsibility towards the society.
Excellent, excellent, sir, excellent.
Sir, so apart from this, sir, if I say that the bad irony of this country is that the students pay a lot of money to learn what everybody should learn for free. So you know what's up? We go to a law school, and we used to learn all those theoretical part which has no essence in practicality. And I'm very happy because I have been recently visiting to your college, and I used to see that you mostly focus on the practical aspect rather than the theoretical aspect more, because the practical essence of the law is very different from the theoretical essence and everything what we read. So, sir, I think that the practical aspect, and the colleges who go into the practical aspects of law, who organizes the legal aid awareness camps in the remote areas, and
Dean sir, you want to say something, Bell sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Thank you so
please,
much
please.
for joining us, Kushal ji.
Sir, thank you.
You have rightly referred to the concept of legal literacy and legal
Sir.
aid in our country. What I am feeling since last so many years, that well, we have legal literacy and legal aid in our country, and
Sir.
Legal Services Authorities Act was also enacted in 1987.
1987,
So
yes.
when I divide the era of justice in two parts, that is, one is pre-1987 and second is post-1987 era. So I realized that, well, before legal aid and before this legal literacy was not there,
Sir.
maybe that few people were not aware about their rights. So they were suffering from injustice, say to the tune of 5 to 10%. But now when the legal literacy has been given to them, free legal aid is available to them, lawyers are also pro bono available to them, thanks to you that you are doing this good job. But the point is that if you have illiterated more people, you have made more people conscious about their rights, and they have filed their cases in the courts. But at the same time, the cases are not being decided in the courts in time because of floodgates of litigation being opened through this legal literacy and legal aid. And now, after acquiring all consciousness about our rights, the poor persons are not getting justice because the cases are not being decided in time. Although the number of judges have been increased, number of courts have also been increased, and number of lawyers have also increased in post-1987 era. But my impression is that the amount of justice which was available in pre-1987 era is not available in post 1987 era, in
Sir,
spite
true,
of giving
true.
legal aid to the people. What is your take on it, please?
That is very
Sir,
rightly said, sir. And that why intended to ask to our eminent speaker today also. That is was my
sir,
query.
sir, what sir said is very true, but you know, sir, what I feel that the post 1987 and pre 1987, the rate of literacy has not reached much higher. India, the illiteracy rate in India is not much higher as compared to most of the developed countries or the most of the developing countries in the world. And sir, if I take a easy note on this, then most of us doesn't know that November 9 is celebrated as the National Literacy Day, National Legal Literacy Day. So this is so, sir. What I feel that the 1987 pre-1987 and the post-1987, the legal aid part has reached a lot of essence. It's not that they have not reached a lot of sessions, they have, but they still need a lot of sessions because the legal awareness is not so much. So because the fair trial and the fair justice and the consciousness among the normal citizen of the country is not so much. People are very much afraid to go to the court because they don't know about the law which is acting upon their society. So, for an example, if I say if somebody has a company and if they move for bankruptcy and so the act of insolvency and bankruptcy act is there. So Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act is dynamic. The government have changed some of the provisions right now. So how will the common man understand this? Because the law is so dynamic, it changes accordingly. And the most bad irony of this nation is that the court thinks that all the citizens are aware about all the law and about all the act. So and so the legal maxim comes in that ignorantia non existit. That ignorance of law is not an excuse, but that law should be known to all. Because because once you have done something which you don't know that law has been enacted, so you will be committing the wrong, but the court will think that you are aware about that law, but you are unaware about that law, and you have done that law by mistake. But our court doesn't think so. Our judges does not take so. So, for example, if I say about about some of the draconian acts which has taken place in the country, so if you can see in January that there was a National Security Act which came up in Delhi for 3 months. It was from January to April, right? So what was the essence of National Security Act? That anybody can be arrested without giving an information for 10 days, and without any preventive measure. So if the NSA Act has come, so for around 10 months, anybody can be kept in prison. So how many of us, how many of the common people who are, if you can say, like who are protesting or who are on road, they know about this NSA Act which has come up. So I think the legal awareness should be so much valuable, and legal awareness should be like reaching each and everybody of the society, that everybody should know the essence of the law which has come up, because it is so dynamic in nature.
Sir, the problem basically what has been observed is that even if you are well aware of the laws that are there in the country, as a lawyer or as a common man, if you have studied the law also, but the problem is the functioning of the court is like this. Whenever anyone goes to the court, and the person feels has to face a very horrible situation there. You see, sir, it's always a game of dates, and then you might have heard the dialogue of the Sunny Deol of that and like that. So the situation at times becomes like this, sir. So even a young lawyer, I have seen many young lawyers who go to the court and they were determined to make their career, and they got frustrated because of this horrible functioning of the court.
Sir. Sir, I totally understand
Sometimes
what you're trying to say.
even the judges, I should not say they sit in their cabin and, oh, no, today we are not having the mood. Let they be taken. And the client who is coming from a distance, he has to go back without getting the face of the justice. So things are so becoming, at times it becomes so horrible. Please, sir.
Sir, just few months back, our current CGI, Justice Bobde, said that justice cannot take a form of revenge, right? So the most of the public and the most of the common people, for them justice is a form of revenge, right? So when they come to court, they want that on the very first day they should get all those benefits and all those things what they want to impose on the other society very easily. So what I think that justice is something, a peace of mind. Justice is something what everybody should understand, that justice is something what the law, the essence of law is all about. So sir, I think that what you said, that the judges don't care about the common people, the clients who are coming in court. That can be correct in some way, but I don't think that is correct in the all way. Because sir, judges also care about everybody, and we sir, and we as
if we are safe, it is because of the judiciary that we are safe.
Sir, it is, sir, see, every reform in this nation, whether it's a social reform, a religious reform, or economic reform, all the reform comes up after the change in law. So it's a reform after the change in law, which has to be adopted by the society. So once there is a reform, so every citizen of the nation should understand, and it should be mandatory to understand what and how come the law has changed. So there is a very, I think the most important pillar for any country, not only this country, but for any country, is the understanding what the law, what the rights is all about. And the judiciary has a very important role in deciding the arena, in deciding the all the value of the society. The judiciary has a very important role in giving the rights to every single citizen of this country. Because if I feel that my rights are infringed, then I'll be coming to court and I'll be telling that my rights are infringed. So they have also divided it that the High Court of any state has a wider jurisdiction. High Court of any state can also look into the moral rights, but Supreme Court, when you directly want to go to a Supreme Court for the infringement of right, then you can only go when there is an infringement of fundamental right. So the High Court jurisdiction involves the moral right also, but the Supreme Court only involves the fundamental right. So all these technical things has to be understood by the common people, and that is what legal literacy for a common man is all about. That is what I think.
Very rightly said, sir. Rightly said. Good.
So apart from this, if I come up in the leadership and management part, if I come up in how law as a career is important, because I was told earlier that you have to speak about how the law as a career is important. So see, law as a career is very important. Law as a career is something which is not just your growth. This is the growth of the society. This is the growth of the nation, and because if the society develops, if the common citizen develop their mindset, then that is the growth of the society. The understanding what is right and what is wrong, and fighting for their rights, fighting for their equal pay, fighting for their equality, fighting for their right to life with dignity, and fighting for their freedom of trade, fighting for their freedom of speech and expression. All this can come up when we know what is law all about. So, sir, if you have a view of mine that why law is very important, so I think that law is very important because law is very much related to the social activism to develop this nation. Sir, can you hear me, sir? Right, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are
Yes,
clearly audible.
sir. Apart from this, what I think that the normal law students should understand that what is the importance of PIL. Sir, there is a lot of voice coming up. I think somebody is not muted.
Navjot? Hello, Navjot. Navjot?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Navjot, our eminent, please ensure that no disturbance is there.
Well, Kushal sir, you have rightly emphasized the role of judiciary for providing access to justice to the people, especially through legal literacy also. Government is now pending with this bill for creation of All India Judicial Services.
Yes, sir. And
what do you think this All India Judicial Services will be a better tool for access to justice?
Sir, National Judiciary, All India Judiciary will be a better tool, because I think that because the kind of questioning everybody can do to the judiciary, that there is a lot of nepotism, that the eligible and the most compatible candidates are not being appointed as judge, or most of the lawyers who are being appointed as judge, so they think that the judiciary is biased in elevating them as judge. So I think if NGSA comes, then there will be a common arena to understand what is the appointment all about, and how everybody on a similar platform can be appointed in the national level, and can be distributed along with their role and their capabilities all around. I think so, sir. That's why I think NJSC is very important, because if you see that the other examination which are taking place, the UPSC examination, Union Public Service Commission examination, and so why we trust UPSC more than the judiciary examination? So that is because the transparency. That is because everybody is on the same level when they are going to give the examination, and their capabilities define that where they will be sitting and where they will be standing. So if there is one platform to decide where the judiciary stands, so I think that will be more transparent, and that will build more trust among the common people, that yes, there is a transparency in judiciary, and we can seek justice at the earliest. That is my view, sir. If I take to it, sir. And sir, apart from this, if I talk about the leadership and management part, the legal skill part, the importance of moot courts, and the practical knowledge of law. So I think that the 11th, 12th class students who want to come to law, they should understand that what is the essence of law. If they are coming and to take law as a career, then they should understand that they want to work for the society. They just don't want to earn for themselves, because law is not about financial growth. Law is about the growth for the society. And the young budding lawyers, they don't want to come to litigation. They want to join corporate field because there is a static salary. And there is a defined role what they get in the very starting when they pass out the college. But I think this litigation field, when you come into the litigation field, it is very important for everybody to join, and they should understand that every young budding lawyer should have a minimum role in society, should have a minimum role, at least a minimum role in society. They should be going for a free legal aid. They should be going for a remote area legal awareness program. They should be going for the underprivileged person growth. They should be going for PILs if they feel that the right of the other person are infringed. So I think that's every person, every young budding lawyer should understand their responsibility towards the society. And so I think when you are coming to become a lawyer, then all those practices and all those moot courts and all those internships are just like a net practice when you are coming to a match into a playground, so you can perform well. So everybody should understand this. They should sir, they should understand what is the essence of all the role what they are doing in the society, and they should understand what is the importance of law deep in their hearts. They should understand it by all by their capabilities.
All right, sir. For +2 students,
Sure.
how far this 5-year law course is better than 3-year law course if they want to join the litigation and the legal profession?
Sir, it's a question which is very much related to me also, because I am also a BA LLB, and after completing my BA LLB, I did my LLM in criminal law. Then after I did my post graduation in international trade and business law. With this I completed my diploma in cyber laws also. So how can I complete this much courses? Because after 12th, when I joined when I thought to join BA LLB. So that BLLB is a 5-year course, right? So in this 5 year, on the first and second year, most of the college want to build a base of you by teaching you political science, by teaching you essence of law, by teaching you sociology, and by teaching you what is necessary for the society and what is necessary for you to have a good base to be a law student. So once you're joining LLB and you are graduating from some other subject, you are coming to LLB. So 3 years is different and 3 years is different. So you have a different mindset 3 years, because when after you just passed out your 12th, then your mind is more your mind is like what should I do, and what should I understand. So at that point of time when you understand law, that is more sufficient and that is more efficient for you, rather than you are coming up in LLB and you are understanding law after graduating in some different subject, and when you are coming in LLB, then you are directly reading about law. So the base building, the pillar building, I think is BLLB, because once you join BLLB, then the bifurcation of the years, which is done by good colleges, is something when you are a lawyer, then that helps you a lot. That is sir, that is what I think. But what is the difference between BLLB and LLB? Because I think BLLB is more important, because you understand what law is all about, and you understand what the all the young students need when they come after 12. Because after 12, everybody is roaming around, and everybody is very much in a very ambiguous mind that what should I do. And at that time when you join law as a course, then your base and the substance what your college gives you is very important.
So we would be taking up the questions. Before that, we'll take a 5-minute break. I would request Betria ma'am to just give show the participants the introductory video, and then we'll take up the question answers.
The first impression that comes to our mind about any college: tall buildings with classrooms, large lobby areas, thick books, documents, class tests, and projects. Nothing besides that. Every hour, minute, second spent here help us carving and shaping our persona, cultivating innovative mindsets for the challenging world. Learning is a lifelong process. Sharing knowledge, inculcating values of life, spark the innovative horizons of mind. Fun and frolic is the nature of every nook and corner. A daily dose of thrill, we are sure to get here.
ब्रेक के 5 मिनट का फिर क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन है। लीव कर सकते हैं मुझे? लीव करना है।
Can we have the message by Vice Chairman, sir?
Come and learn in a very good way.
अमन सर वाला पोर्शन गलत रिकॉर्ड है सर, पहले भी नहीं आ रहा था ठीक, जिसमें अमन सर बोल रहे हैं।
But are also constantly motivated to research.
कट रही है अमन सर वाला पोर्शन।
Our infrastructure bring together all the
सवाल
If you're associated with DME or wish to get associated, then I welcome you to have a place here and contribute in this mission of providing the best education young minds in all the courses that we offer: law, media, and management. Because our infrastructure is national in nature. All the relevant stakeholders participate in this mission. We try to ensure that the workings and processes of the city are fundamentally sound. It is our hope that those who have the desire to succeed find a place over here and pursue this goal of excellence.
Delhi Metropolitan Education is a young college. We are 6 years old. We were established in 2013. But during these 6 years, we have established our own parameters. And this college was ranked among the top 25 law colleges in India. Well, the management school also was ranked as 4th among the upcoming business schools. We work on a model in this college, and that model is, say, the KSA model. We work on the knowledge enhancement of the student, we work on the skill enhancement, and we work on the enhancement. And our model says that if a student grows knowledge, skills, and attitude, corporates are waiting for you. The whole world is waiting for you. So, as far as enhancing, we have a battery of excellent teachers. We have an excellent library with a lot of tools and books. We have classrooms whereby we deliver through the technological mode. We have ERP systems, knowledge enhancement parts. We have industrial visits, we have workshops, conferences, seminars, festivals, judges coming to campus. So all this enhances the skill level of the and
Okay, so we'll take up the questions.
Yes.
We have one question from Apurva, that do we have to first become a lawyer and practice law by working under a senior to clear the exam of PCSJ and become a judge?
No. That is not at all mandatory. Just after when you passed out in law, you can give the PCSJ examination. Right. So that is not mandatory. But what I think as a lawyer, that you should at least work for 1 year or 2 years with a senior to understand the basic part of law, and then when you go for judiciary examinations, and if you clear it, then if you're sitting at chair, then you'll be understanding what the other side is speaking to you more than what you are just going after passing law and you're clearing the PCSJ examination. I think so. Both have their own relevancy. If you passed out your PCSJ examination just after passing your law, then that is okay. But what I think that after passing your law, you should at least work for 1 year, and you should understand what are the basic provisions of law, what are the basic provisions of law, what is the basic procedures of law, what are the basic reforms of law, and how law is used in the society, and how law is speak, what is the argument, and what is the basic procedure, so that you can understand law well. Because what I feel after law, when you'll be going, being as a lawyer, when I go to a court and I see a very young judge, so he or she depends on a very theoretical part rather than going into practical aspects of law. Because law is all about interpretations, right? So one can interpret any line, any section of law as the way he want to implement that section in their case. So you should understand the essence of that section or that act. So I think that if you go for PCSJ examination, then you should at least work under a senior for 1 or 2 years, and you prepare for the examinations while you are working. So that will help you out to have a very bright future, and you'll be understanding what the law is all about. Understanding the main essence of law, I must say.
The next question is, nowadays it is said that lawyers are money-making machine and corruption is booming between them. And with a good lawyer, a criminal himself can walk free. So how can we say that lawyer is a lawyer, being a lawyer is a good profession?
See, you should understand that we lawyers are doing what they are lawyers for. Means every conversation between you and the client is a privileged communication, right? So you are working, that's your work. You see, I understand what the question is about, but that's your work. That what makes you a lawyer. When you come into court and you fight for justice for who the client is, so that means you are giving justice to your profession, you are providing justice to your client, you are providing justice to law, right? So at that point of time, I don't think you should think about who the client is. I think you should think about that's a privileged communication between you and your client, and you have to work for your client, and you have to justify your professional ethics. You should justify your professional work. So I think you should not think that we are making money or not. I think you should think that you are justifying your professional ethics more, rather than going into all these things that who the client is about and what the case is about.
So there is one more important question.
Yes.
That how can we directly become a judge? What is the procedure for becoming a judge directly, like without
see,
or LLM?
I tell you. There are 3 ways of becoming a judge. You will be understanding these 3 ways once you are into deep practice of litigation, I must say. Now, how come? See, when you are passing your examination after BA LLB, you can qualify PCSJ and you can become a civil judge junior division, right? You can directly qualify for a judge, right? For a civil judge and so on. Now, after 7 years of practice, there is a higher judiciary examination, which is known as HJS, higher judiciary examination. So when you qualify for a higher judiciary examination, then you can be directly appointed as additional district judge, ADJ. After 7 years of practice, you can qualify for a HJS, higher judiciary services. Now the another process of becoming a judge, if I must say, you are elevated to the High Court judge. Now that way is your practice, that way is your landmark judgments, That way is what all you have given to law in those years, and there is a proper procedure for being elevated as a judge. Being as a counsel, being as a practicing counsel for many years in one court. See, for example, if you are practicing in Delhi High Court for more than 20 or 25 years, and you have a lot of landmark judgments in your name. You have given a lot to the society, and your argumenting skills are very high. Judge knows you personally. That when you stand in court, then you have a different face value. So all those just implement to get elevated, and when there is a proper procedure of getting elevated as a judge. So all there is a full bench, and the full bench decides the application that you have applied to be elevated as a judge in High Court. So in High Court or Supreme Court, then after just acknowledging everything, all the procedures, all the criteria what the judge has given. So then after you can be elevated as a judge directly to a High Court or a Supreme Court. In the recent example, Justice Indira Mukherjee in Supreme Court, and Justice Robinton Nariman also, they are directly appointed as judge in Supreme Court. And in Delhi High Court, Justice Rekha Palli, Justice Jyoti Singh, Justice Sanjeev Narula, they are directly elevated to the bench. Looking there the way of their practice, the essence of their practice, and what all they are given to law. That is the main part. And that's how you can be elevated as a judge without giving the examination, and that too in High Court or a Supreme Court.
Let's have a 5 minutes break again, and
Yes.
I request you to show a few videos.
Is international in nature. We tried to bring together all the relevant stakeholders to participate in this mission. We tried to ensure that the workings and processes of this institute are fundamentally sound. It is our hope that those who have the desire to succeed will place over here and pursue. We motivate all of them in achieving this task. If you're associated with DAV or wish to get associated, then I welcome you all over here. And I wish you all the best.
Okay, so we'll be taking in another question.
Yes.
That there are so many cases pending in Supreme Court and District Court and various high courts. So what do you think about the delays in decision-making process, and please brief about how the further dates are given to even the most crucial cases. So what is your say on that?
Can you please repeat the question for one second?
The question is that there are so many cases pending in Supreme Courts, High Courts,
Yes.
and District Courts. Even on crucial matters, there is just a delay. So how that thing can be, what can we do as a lawyer in that? How can we delay injustice?
See, what is a crucial matter? First of all, we have to understand that what is a crucial matter. See, a matter which includes national interest, that you can call as a crucial matter, in one sense, if you can say. So when you come to any of the appellate courts, whether it's a High Court or whether it's a Supreme Court, then there are a lot of matters pending. Yes, you are right that there are a lot of matters pending, but the judges are deciding the matter according to their strength, and they are dealing with it on a very higher rate. What I think that the dates in the crucial matters are given after reading and after adjudicating the file, after adjudicating the essence of that matter, and after understanding what that matter's implications and complications are on the society. For example, if you may say that when a matter comes to Supreme Court, and when the matter is in front of a division bench, and if the division bench thinks that the matter can be transferred to a constitutional bench, which can be which constitutes of 5 judges or 7 judges, then that matter is transferred to a bigger scope of judges, because that has the larger repercussions in themselves. As you see, Ram Janmabhoomi case, and the other cases which has which has a lot of repercussions in the national interest. So we should understand that the judges understand that what is important for the society, and after understanding what is important for the society, then only the dates are given. It's not that what we think that the date should be given earlier, so that the judge should be listening to us, and should be giving the date as soon as possible. That is not correct, because if we are going to seek justice, then justice has to be done according to law. And when it comes to accordance to law, then it takes some time, because every aspect of law has to be looked into, and that's how the dates are given. So we see it has been a recent question all over, that why the national interest questions are not being taken in Supreme Court on a very sooner date. See, that's not important, that what you think, what the judiciary is thinking for the higher good of the society at large. So they give the date according to that. And we as a lawyer, we should respect judiciary as much as we can, because all the reformation and all the aspects of the society are being looked by the judiciary before giving a date. So I think we should maintain a very high respect for judiciary in any way they are dealing with all the cases they are having or they are going into.
I would request Director Sir that we have a lot of students from 12th standard, and I would request you to tell them that what is the procedure, I mean, to apply for LLB in DME, how we are engaging our students to excel in life and have successful career.
Okay, students, I am Dr. Ravi Kant Swami. I am heading this college, which is conducting the this webinar. And as far as law is concerned, well, I generally say that during the past 2 decades, the rise of law courses, it's like this: the law courses are on a rise and BTech is on a fall. Sorry for saying me like that, but actually this is because of the market demand, the manufacturing sector, because India is not doing well, very well in the manufacturing sector. So the demand for engineers, I'm not talking about computer science engineers, that is a field where the demand is very high. And with Corona, the demand for computer science engineers is going to be still higher. But as far as other traditional engineering fields are concerned, civil, mechanical, all those fields have faced a downfall, and as a result, law has taken a lead, right? This is a typical phenomena which has taken place during the past 2 decades or so. Now, having said that, let me tell you about the process of taking admission in a law college. The process is very simple. We remember 4 alphabets, and that's the process. The 4 alphabets are C, L, A, and T. We call it CLAT, right? So CLAT is the only way of taking admission in any reputed college. Yes, there may be colleges which give admission without CLAT also, but as far as our college is concerned, you have to appear for CLAT, and then you have to fill that IPU form. And I believe those forms are still open because of this corona. The dates are being constantly postponed. So anybody who wants to make a career in law, then CLAT is the sine qua non. The students have to appear at CLAT. Now, I have a question for our guest speaker also, Kushalji. Well, I find that the traditional areas of law, they are giving space to the new areas of law. For instance, cyber laws, IPRs, these are the areas which are opening up in a big way. And as things are happening, I believe that in the future, these new areas are going to open up. So can you throw a little light on that? The new areas which are going to open up for the law graduates in the coming, say, 3 decades?
So after this pandemic, I think a lot of people have come to know about one more important act, that is National Disaster Act, right? So law is dynamic in nature, sir. Right? Law has to change according to the demand of the society. Act has to be made according to the demand of the society. And the essence of the justice. What I think that in the upcoming years, the IPR law, the media laws, and what I say the cyber laws are going to be in boom, because there is a lot of cyber crime which is going on, and the use of freedom and speech, freedom of speech and expression is like without reasonable restrictions these days. They don't put restrictions into it. So I think there is a direct source of information these days, like Twitter, Facebook, and the other social media. So I think the essence of cyber law is going to be very high. I think the essence of IPR laws, the trademark, copyright, this is going to have a good boom in this society. And the media laws, because sometimes we say that there is a media trial. So there is a media trial for any subject, like if someone is just a alleged murderer, then media project that a person as a murderer, which is a media trial. So I think that if there are strong laws for media trial, then I think that this will stop. So I think in the recent year, the cyber law is going to take a good boost. I think the IPR laws will going to be taking a very good boost, because the young generation is moving towards this IPR law a lot. The intellectual property right, like the trademark, like the copyright, and the other essence of this IPR law. I think all the companies who are going to introduce new products in the market, so they need to have this IPR section in their company. So I think if anybody does this IPR law, so they will be having a very good future. And apart from this, I think if somebody is going to do something in cyber law, then this cyber market is also going to be very high, not in our country, but globally, right? I think it has a very
Kushalji,
global repercussions. Yes.
So you mean to say that the traditional areas of law are being now replaced by the modern areas of law? As you said, law is changing.
Sir, traditional areas of law can never change. Right, sir. So substantive law can never change. Law of land cannot change. Sir, see, the Indian
I am
Penal
talking
Code.
in terms of traditional scope.
Sir, the traditional scope of law can also not change, because what the society crime involves, what the procedural crime involves, that has to be dealt with the procedural law. That has to be dealt with the substantive law. See, for example, if somebody wants to file a defamation case, then he has to deal with this Indian Penal Code section 499, section 500, 501. So I think how will this change? I think the law will change, The law will change according to the society, but that is a different sector of society. The traditional law is always and will be the same, and that is the reason we are the traditional lawyers, sir. We love to go to court. We love litigation, and I think in a very few years time I have dealt with a very good and very landmark cases of our country. So I think if somebody does anything very generously, very enthusiastically, and giving everything what they have, I think they'll be getting the result, and the traditional law will never change.
Okay, Kushal, I think your opinion is very correct on that. Now for the audience, I have one more trend to tell. A very significant trend has taken place during the past, I'll say, 15 years. And that trend is that now no more people are going for the 3-year law degrees. It's a time when integrated degrees are there. And courses like integrated courses like BLLB, BBLLB, these courses have, they are in vogue, and we find that nobody is doing, say, simple LLB after BSc. So probably there is a very positive thing in this. And the reason is that if you join an integrated course, the student decides on his career right after 12th.
Sir. That is what I was trying to say also, yes.
Yeah, in the other case, like means when I was studying, I did my PG in 1995. So during those days, these 5-year law courses were not present in this scenario. So probably the advantage with these integrated courses is that, number one, a student gets 2 degrees and saves 1 year. That's the first advantage. And the second and more important advantage is that the student decides on his or her career path right
just after 12th.
So that is a major advantage. So that is another trend which has taken place in the legal education.
Sir, apart from this, I want to add that there are many variety of integrated course. Like you can go after BLLB, you can go after BTech LLB, you can go on with BBLLB.
BBLLB is very popular.
So yes, sir. So you can indulge this management as well as law at only one time, and when you are applying for a good company, then they take you as a entrepreneur.
That's the advantage of the integrated courses.
Yes.
So I think IP University is known for its integrated courses.
Sir, I think your college is also known for your integrated course.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, sir. So see, I feel law college just gives you the basic of what law is all about, and it gives you a practical knowledge of law. Right. Because once you come in this arena, in this the litigation arena or in the basic law family, then everything has a different role what the theory is all about. And for that reason, you need to do a good internship. For that reason, you need to have good professors. For that reason, you need to have good teachers, which correlate the theory part with the practical ethics in the which is changing towards the society these days. So we have to correlate the theory as well as the practical part in these days, which I think the colleges are doing it well today.
So I would like Dr. Bhavesh Gupta sir, Head Academics, DME Law School, to tell the students that how DME Law School is different from other law schools.
Yes, Navjot, it's a very relevant question. And see, so far as our DME school is concerned, as rightly said by the director sir also, and by our eminent speaker today, that it is not the theoretical portion on which we emphasize. Rather, it is the overall 360-degree development, and how it is to be achieved. It is to be achieved by their internships, by their practical exposures, by their various visits to the Supreme Court, High Court, Parliament, as they are the essential part of the curriculum. And then we have our own JTA, which is being run by our respected Dean Sir, under the guidance. So all these things, they are not common with other law colleges. And this is an endeavor which we have achieved with the help of the guidance of our Honorable Justice Bhamar Chindi, who is our Director General. So things are going in a very positive direction, and it is, I am very optimistic and hopeful then that we will soon have so many budding lawyers and the judges, they will be coming out from the DM. And Navjot, I know that you too have been an advocate before entering into this teaching fraternity. You too might be having your own experience of the advocacy. If you would like to share with the other students as well, that will also be of immense help to them also.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So students, before joining as assistant professor law, I used to, go seriously for internships. See, I have altogether a background, a family background where I have all lawyers. I am a 4th-generation lawyer. So I tried to, go for litigation, but then the thing was that I somehow felt that I could not adjust in that environment because I was more into teaching. But the experience which when you enter the court, and you are seen as a lawyer, you altogether have a different aura around you. You get so much respect, and people, even if you are sitting in the canteen, you are given so much respect, so much honor, that you feel, that you are something. And if you are stuck up, like, now also if I'm stuck up in any situation, in some problem with the police personnel or some other person, and I know the laws, and when he gets to know that I'm a lawyer, so then he changes his, way of speaking.
Yes.
So that is what comes when you choose law as a profession. So I would like to conclude that at DME, we are not only focusing on whatever is written in the books or in the Bare Acts of what law is, but we are also focusing on the overall personality development of students. We have cultural societies. I am heading that cultural department. We have 11 societies where you can, enhance your talent. Apart from that, we have Moot Court Society. We have conducted national moot courts. Our students participate. We help them to participate at international and national moots. We also have...
It is worthwhile to mention here that our new moot court is very well equipped to organize the inter-universities moot court competitions. And in the past, we have various distinguished luminaries from the bench, bar, and academics.
Yes, even I am very privileged to be there.
It's an honor. It's an honor for
us. Yes, sir. I was there as adjudicating a moot court, sir, and it was very nice. It was undoubtedly very nice.
So if you want to have a look how we go about the entire programs and events, we recently also conducted Fest. So you can go at Instagram and at Facebook also, where we have our own page, DME page. And you can also visit the website where we have given all the details regarding the different societies on which we are working. You can have a look of the library. And you can see various videos will give you insights of how we function at DME. That's all for today. I would like to extend my deepest, gratitude to the...
But before we conclude, Navjot, yes, we should thank to our eminent speaker for giving such a thought-provoking, all words of wisdom by him, which will definitely boost the confidence of our audience today. And to the director sir also, it seems that had there been the BA LLB in the time of the director sir when he was studying, he would have pursued the law, definitely. It seems so. So thank you so much, Kushalji. Thank you so much, our director sir. Same here. To our director sir, to our dean sir, Behel sir, to Navjot, Bedpriya, who are the organizers of this webinar, and there are very soon more webinars to upcoming in the line. But it was an honor listening to you, Mr. Kushalji. Thank you so very much.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Request all the participants to also participate in tomorrow's webinar. That is at 4:30. It is by Mr. Alok Mishra, who is the Dean of NMIMS Mumbai. So that will be also it will be an enriching experience for all of you. That's all. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
And one last request to all the participants, please do fill in the feedback form. Your feedbacks are very valuable to us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
The meeting.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much.